Imagine walking into a dimly lit mansion where the music is thumping just loud enough to make your heart sync with the bass. The champagne is endless, and the guest list feels like someone just hit copy-paste on a Forbes billionaire roundup and a Grammy nominations page. Sounds like a scene out of a movie, right? Except this isn't fiction. It's the hidden world of celebrity parties, the places where whispers turn into rumors, where alliances are made over a glass of vintage wine, and where the line between myth and reality blurs until you can't tell if you're living in TMZ's next big headline or just another Tuesday night in Hollywood. And here's the kicker. The deeper you dig, the more you realize these gatherings aren't just about fun. They're about power, secrecy, and the carefully crafted illusions that stars like Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Diddy have built around themselves for decades. But the real question is, what happens when those illusions start to crack? Please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. It is free and help us bring you enjoyable content. And of course, watch till the end. To understand this secretive ecosystem, we need to start with one simple truth. Fame doesn't end when the cameras stop rolling. In fact, for many celebrities, the real show begins when the public isn't invited. These parties, often whispered about but rarely confirmed, are cultural currency. You don't just get in because you're talented, you get in because you're powerful, connected, and, let's be honest, useful. If you've ever wondered why stories about exclusive after-parties circulate endlessly but rarely include actual details, it's because secrecy is part of the allure. The less the public knows, the more we want to know. Why do you think entire podcasts and YouTube channels dedicate themselves to dissecting the hidden social lives of the rich and famous? Because the mystery is irresistible. Now, let's zoom in on some names you definitely know. Beyoncé and Jay-Z aren't just artists, they're institutions. Together, they've cultivated an image of being untouchable, the royal family of music. But here's the fun paradox. The higher up the ladder you climb, the more people speculate about what you're really like behind closed doors. That's why their presence, or even alleged presence, at certain private gatherings becomes gossip fuel. Add someone like Diddy into the mix, a figure known as much for his parties as for his music empire, and you've got the perfect recipe for rumor mill chaos. Court documents, offhand witness testimonies, and half-remembered anecdotes from ex-insiders often swirl around these names, blurring truth with exaggeration. And here's the tricky part, Hollywood thrives on that blur. If the public believes you're fascinating, dangerous, or even a little scandalous, that might be more powerful than being squeaky clean. But is that intentional branding, or just a byproduct of being in circles where the lines between power, pleasure, and excess get dangerously thin? Let's pause and think about the architecture of these so-called legendary parties. Picture long marble hallways leading to velvet-draped rooms, security tighter than an airport checkpoint, and A-listers rubbing shoulders with tech billionaires, athletes, and influencers who somehow know how to work a room better than they work an algorithm. The energy is intoxicating, not just because of the music or the drinks, but because of what's unspoken. Who's talking to who? Who disappears upstairs? Who gets photographed leaving at 3 a.m.? These are the kinds of questions that fuel headlines, but also create myths that last decades. And if you think this sounds dramatic, consider the way Studio 54 parties in the 70s are still talked about today. Do we remember the exact guest lists? Or do we remember the aura of untamed freedom, mystery, and scandal? That's the same playbook modern celebrity parties are running, just with better lighting and NDAs signed at the door. Here's where it gets interesting. The secrecy surrounding these events isn't just about privacy, it's about power management. Think of it like a magician's trick. The audience sees one thing, but behind the curtain, something entirely different is happening. For Beyoncé and Jay-Z, cultivating an image of strength, love, and dominance in the music industry means letting the public speculate just enough to stay intrigued, but never confirming too much. Diddy, meanwhile, has long leaned into his role as the ultimate host, the man who could make or break your industry status, depending on whether you got that golden invite. But what happens when whispers about what went on at these parties escape into court filings, social media threads, and late-night comedian monologues? Suddenly, the illusion is harder to maintain, and the world starts asking, how much of this is smoke, and how much is fire? But let's not forget, Celebrity culture thrives on duality. We crave the pristine image of Beyoncé belting out flawless anthems while simultaneously scrolling for leaked details about her offstage life. We admire Jay-Z as a business mogul, then devour every Reddit theory about the circles he moves in. And Diddy? His entire legacy is now being re-examined through a new lens, not just as a mogul, but as someone who allegedly hosted spaces where power and pleasure collided in ways the public was never meant to see. So why are we so fascinated by this? Maybe because deep down, these stories aren't just about celebrities, they're about us. They reflect our own curiosity about power, our desire for forbidden knowledge, and the thrill of imagining a world just beyond our reach. Here's a little thought experiment. What would you do if you got an invite to one of these infamous gatherings? Would you play it cool, sipping champagne in the corner while trying not to spill on your borrowed designer outfit? Or would you dive headfirst into the spectacle, hoping to brush shoulders with someone who could change your life? That tension, the what if, is exactly why people click on articles like this one. It's not just about Beyoncé, Jay-Z, or Diddy. It's about what these stories say about exclusivity, about human nature, and about the fine line between admiration and obsession. So, what does all of this mean for the way we view Hollywood? On one hand, these parties are cultural artifacts, places where history is written in whispered conversations and unphotographed moments. On the other hand, they're cautionary tales, reminders that when power goes unchecked and mystery turns into myth, the fallout can be messy, public, and irreversible. And yet, despite all the exposés, all the testimonies, all the alleged details trickling out from courtrooms and gossip columns, the fascination doesn't die, it grows. Because we don't actually want the full truth, do we? We want just enough to keep us coming back, to keep us asking questions, to keep us imagining what's hidden behind those velvet ropes. So here's where I'll leave you, with an open invitation to keep questioning. The next time you hear about an exclusive Hollywood party, ask yourself, is the real story about what happened there, or about why we're so desperate to know? Fame is a mirror, reflecting back not just the stars themselves, but our own curiosities, insecurities, and fantasies. And maybe that's the untold truth that no court document, no leaked testimony, and no insider revelation can ever fully capture. Now, your turn. What do you think fuels this obsession with celebrity secrets? Is it the thrill of imagining a hidden world we'll never enter, or the comfort of knowing that even the most powerful people have messy, complicated lives behind closed doors? Drop your thoughts, share your theories, and let's keep unraveling this glittering, shadowy, endlessly fascinating world together.